I still remember that night like a scar etched into the desert itself. Arizona Territory. 1887, the sky was black as burnt coal, and the wind whistled like a ghost through the canyons. The kind of night when even the coyotes kept quiet, like the land was holdin' its breath, waitin' for somethin' wicked to happen. I was ridin', alone, miles away from town, my horse Boone's hooves hittin' the dry earth in a slow, steady rhythm. I wasn't headed nowhere special, just driftin' like most cowboys did back then. The world was changin', railroads cuttin' through the wilderness like iron snakes, towns sproutin' up overnight, and law chasin' outlaws across the frontier. But out there, in that stretch between the San Pedro River and the Dragoon Mountains, law didn't mean much. Men settled their scores with lead, and the desert buried their secrets. That's when I heard it. Faint, fragile, like it came from the belly of the wind itself. A sound that didn't belong to the night. Mama, I froze. Pulled Boone to a stop. The sound came again, soft, shiverin', breakin' through the darkness like a spark in dry grass. Mama, now, I'd heard coyotes cry, women wail, men beg for mercy, but I'd never heard something like that out here. It was the voice of a baby. A tiny baby. Out here, miles from any ranch or town. Now, I'd heard coyotes cry, women wail, men beg for mercy, but I'd never heard something like that out here. It was the voice of a baby. A tiny baby. Out here, miles from any ranch or town. And inside that bundle, was a baby. Barely a few weeks old. Wrapped in old linen, skin pale from the cold desert night. Big, glassy eyes staring up at me like they didn't understand why the world had turned so cruel so soon. There was a moment, just a heartbeat, where everything went silent around me. No wind. No river. Just me and that tiny soul, crying into the night. Someone had left this child out here to die. And not by accident. I knelt down, feeling the rough sack. There were markings on it, burned into the burlap with a brand. A jagged V with 2 slashes underneath. I'd seen it before. Once. Years back. The Vulture Gang. They weren't just bandits, they were a pack of wolves dressed as men. Raided stagecoaches, burned ranches, left bodies hanging from cottonwoods as warnings. Their leader, Silas Vane, was the kind of man who could smile while shooting you between the eyes. If this sack bore their mark, then this child was tied to something far uglier than I cared to imagine. I picked up the baby, holding it close inside my coat to keep it warm. It stopped. When I got there, the town was dark. Lanterns out. Doors locked. Folks in Red Hollow didn't trust the night either. I headed straight for the old chapel, the only place that kept its doors open to drifters like me. Inside, sittin' by a dwindlin' fire, was Sister Miriam, a wiry, sharp-eyed woman in her late 50s. She'd seen more blood than any doctor in the territory, patchin' up gunshot wounds and talkin' in strays like stray cats. She looked at the bundle in my arms, and her face went pale. "Sweet Lord," she whispered, talkin' the baby carefully. "Where did you?" "Riverbank," I said. "Sack had the vulture mark." She froze. The fire popped. "Then you've brought more than a child into this town," she said quietly. "You've brought their wrath." I stayed the night in the chapel, sittin' by the door with my rifle across my lap. But I didn't sleep. Couldn't. The baby's soft breaths echoed in the quiet like a fragile promise, one I wasn't sure I could keep. By dawn, word had spread. Red Hollow was a small place, and secrets traveled faster than horses. That's when Elias Carter showed up. Elias was an old friend. A ranch hand turned prospector. Lean, sandy-haired, always smilin' like he knew the punchline before anyone else. We'd ridden together years ago, through Apache country, through hell and back. He was the closest thing I had to a brother. "Well, I'll be damned," he said, peering at the baby in Sister Miriam's arms. You always had a soft spot for strays, didn't ya? I shrugged. Found her near the river. Somebody left her for dead. Elias' eyes narrowed at the mention of the vulture mark. Silas Vane won't let something like this go unnoticed, he muttered. You best be careful, partner. I nodded. He was right. And yet, something in me wouldn't let me ride away. Maybe it was the way the baby grabbed my finger with her tiny hand. Maybe it was the look in her eyes. Or maybe I was just tired of watching evil win out here. For the next few days, we tried to keep things quiet. Sister Miriam cared for the child, she named her Grace, while I took to the outskirts, scouting the trails for any sign of the vultures. But trouble has a way of finding a man, especially when he's trying to do right. On the 5th night, we saw smoke on the horizon. Black, thick, curling toward the stars. A ranch 3 miles out had been burned to the ground. And nailed to the charred gate, was a burlap sack with the same vulture mark. Elias spat. They're coming, Dot. And I knew then, this wasn't about just a baby. This was a message. The night they came for us, the wind changed. It started as a whisper through the mesquite, then grew into a low, mournful howl. I peered through the chapel window. Down the dirt trail, under the cold glow of the moon, a line of dark riders crept toward Red Hollow. No torches. No noise. Just the sound of hooves, slow and deliberate. At the head of the pack rode Silas Vane himself. Tall, broad-shouldered, black coat flap pinned like a crow's wings. His face was pale under his wide-brim hat, eyes like polished obsidian. A man born without mercy. They dismounted at the edge of town, fanning out like snakes in the dark. Silas stood dead center, staring straight at the chapel like he could see me through the walls. Then he called out, his voice carrying like a whip crack. Bring me the child, and no one has to die tonight. The room went still. Sister Miriam clutched Grace tight against her chest. The baby whimpered softly. Even that tiny sound seemed too loud. I stepped outside, rifle in hand, boots sinking into the dust. Ain't no child here for you, Silas, I called. Turn around before the sun finds you lying cold in the street. He smiled, that thin, snake-like grin I'd heard about in stories. Well now, he drawled, you've always had a hero streak, haven't ya, cowboy? But this ain't your fight. That child belongs to me. Those words stuck like thorns. Belongs to me. I tightened my grip on the rifle. A baby don't belong to no man like you. Silas tilted his head. Oh, but she does. Blood runs deep, friend. Deeper than bullets. Hand her over, and I might let this little town keep breathing, Dot. Before I could answer, shots rang out. Chaos exploded. His men opened fire on the chapel, bullets splintering wood, shot-errant lanterns. I dove for cover behind the well, returning fire. Townsfolk scattered like tumbleweeds in a storm. Sister Miriam ducked low inside, protecting the baby with her own body. For minutes, Red Hollow became a war zone, gun smoke thick as morning fog, firelight flickering through broken windows, the air filled with screams and ricochets. But there was something worse than the bullets. The thought gnawing at me, how did they find us so fast? We'd been careful. Real careful. Only a handful of people even knew about Grace. I looked toward Elias. He was crouched behind a trough, reloading his revolver. And for the briefest second, I saw it. He glint of gold in his saddlebag. A small leather pouch, too clean, too new, tucked where he thought no one would look. A cold chill crawled up my spine. I remembered the day the baby was found, how quick Elias had arrived, the way he kept a skin, what I planned to do with her, his nervous laugh when the gang's mark was mentioned. The realization hit me like a sledgehammer. He'd told them. Or gold. Sister Miriam thrust the baby into my arms. Her face was streaked with soot and fear. "Get her out," she whispered. "Whatever happens, get her out." I nodded. There wasn't nothing else to say. Elias rode up beside me, face pale. "We need to move, partner," he said. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for a moment, the years we'd shared on the trail flashed in my head. Campfires. Raids. Laughter. Trust. But now, between us, there was something darker. "Yeah," I muttered. "We need to move." We cut through the back of town, riding hard toward the Coyote Canyon, a narrow pass carved through the red rock. If we could make it through, maybe, just maybe, the baby had a chance. But Silas knew that land like the back of his hand. His riders were waiting. Shots cracked from the cliffs. Boone whinnied as a bullet grazed his flank. The canyon echoed with gunfire like thunder trapped between stone walls. We slid off the horses, tucking cover behind boulders. Grace cried softly against my chest, the sound breaking me with every breath. I was running low on bullets. Elias crouched beside me, breathing hard. His hand shook as he reloaded. That's when I saw it again. The gold pouch. The way his eyes avoided mine. I spoke low, like a rattler before it strikes. "How much did they pay you, Elias?" His face went pale as bone. What are you talking about? Don't lie to me." They knew where we were. How many men? Which trail we'd take. Someone told M. And you're the only one who could've. Silence. Just the wind whistling through the canyon. Then, he looked away. "Andy, that was all the answer I needed." "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he whispered. "They said they just wanted the baby back, said no one had to get hurt." I felt something inside me snap. "All these years, Elias, after all we've been through, you sold out a child for gold." His eyes welled up. "You don't understand, she's his. Silas's blood. He ain't gonna stop." Before I could reply, a bullet tore past, shattering the rock near my head. Silas's voice echoed through the canyon. "Hand her over, or everyone dies." Looked down at Grace. Her tiny eyes blinked up at me, innocent, unaware of the war she'd been born into. And I knew, there was no riding away from this. Not for me. I shoved the baby into Elias's arms. "You got one chance to make this right," I growled. "Take her. Ride through the back trail. Don't stop. Don't look back." He stared at me, trembling. "What about you?" I cocked my rifle. "I'll keep M busy." And blood soaked my sleeve. My vision blurred. But I kept fighting. Because sometimes, in this godforsaken land, fightin' is all a man's got left. Through the gun smoke, I saw Elias on horseback, riding like hell through the back trail, baby in his arms. For a second, I thought maybe he'd make it. Maybe she'd make it. Then I heard the crack. One shot. Clean. Echoed through the canyon like fate itself. Elias slumped forward in the saddle. Grace tumbled from his arms into the dirt. My scream echoed off the rocks like a wounded beast. I fired blindly, fury and grief mixing in my veins. One by one, I dropped Silas's men, until all that was left was him. He stepped forward, slow, calm, revolver raised. "You should have handed her over," he said coldly. "She's mine. By blood." I spat blood in the dirt. "Not anymore." I pulled the trigger. So did he. Both shots rang out as one. I don't remember much after that. Just the feel of the ground rushing up to meet me, the sound of horses scattering, the cold night sky swimming above. When I came to, dawn had cracked. The canyon was silent. Bodies lay scattered like broken toys. Silas was dead. Elias was gone. And there, wrapped in a blood-stained blanket, was little Grace, still alive. Cryin'. Defiant. I picked her up with my one good arm, holdin' her against my chest. The sun rose over the red rocks, paintin' the canyon in fire and gold. And for the first time, I felt empty. I buried Elias on the ridge. No marker. Just stones. He'd betrayed me, but he'd also died tryin' to make it right. That's the West for you. Ain't no pure heroes. Ain't no clean stories. Just choices, and the prices we pay. I left Grace with Sister Miriam and rode out before the town woke. I wasn't fit to raise a child. Not with blood on my hands and ghosts on my back. Years later, word reached me she'd been taken in by a family headin' east. Grew up never knowin' the night she was abandoned. Never knowin' the men who died so she could live. Sometimes, when the wind howls through the canyon just right, I swear I can still hear that tiny voice whisperin' "Mama." And that's the thing about the West. It don't remember your name. But it remembers your choices. And some echoes never fade.